everyone, this is Jenny Matthews, licensed marriage and family therapist, licensed alcohol and drug counselor. I help children, adolescents, and adults with anxiety. And today we are going to talk about how to externalize anxiety. You know, it's a really big word, and ultimately it's just a fancy schmancy word for having another perspective with anxiety and learning how to talk to it. So today in this video, we're going to talk about what externalizing means, how to do it, two of the traps that parents often fall into when it comes to helping their child with anxiety, and how to manage pushback from your child when you start to implement this new skill. And I'll give you some tips on how to incorporate this into your life. Okay, so first things first, as we've talked about in previous videos, that anxiety is to be expected. And so, you know, there's going to be worry that shows up, and you need to have skills to respond to it rather than listening to it. You know, that is, I think, one of the hardest things is that we don't always know when to ignore worry and when to listen to it. And it's really important because, like I said, worry is important. We need it, but we don't need it in every situation. So that is a skill that's going to be really important for your child to learn. So what I want to do is kind of, you know, and I like to do this with children that I work with a lot, kind of help to start to paint this picture of who anxiety is. And this looks different for everybody and every child. So what I like to do is ask children to picture who do they know that they would consider like a know-it-all, somebody who's really opinionated, has an answer for everything. Usually they don't have a hard time answering this question. And, you know, start to think about anxiety being very similar. You know, when you have this annoying person in your life, you know, they're usually giving you recommendations for everything, whether you ask for it or not. And I ask them, well, do you always listen to them? Do you go to every restaurant they tell you to? Do you do everything they tell you you should do? Do you buy everything they recommend? Well, no. Okay, so how do you handle that when you're talking with that person? You know, usually people say, well, you know, I kind of just learn how to smile and nod my head, say, yep, okay. But then you make a different decision, or maybe even say to them, oh, cool, that sounds good, but that's not really my thing. So you learn how to navigate that relationship. I want children to develop that same strategy for anxiety. And I want them to really see anxiety as this other person kind of outside of themselves. It's just a part of them. It's not who they are. So I want them to develop this distance from anxiety so that they then have the skills to be able to talk to that person or object, however they want to see it, this presence. So let's see here. I think that about covered it. So I actually really like having children do this. This would be a really cool activity to do with your child, is to have them, you know, think about how they see their anxiety. I sometimes will have them think of it like a bully, or it could be a monster, you know, some kind of character. And I'll ask them to even draw it out, really give it a face and give it even a name. I love that. And so I have children do that, and so then we can really be referring to anxiety in that way in our conversations. So that would be a really cool thing for you to do with your child. And do it for yourself too. Again, show them that this isn't just them. Start to do it yourself, so then you can be referring to it in your conversations as well. Okay, so once children do that, once they have a name, a way to kind of personify their worry, we want to teach them 3 ways that they can talk back to worry. First one is to expect it. we've talked about this already, so this should be sort of familiar. So when you expect anxiety, so they get to this place where they know, okay, every Monday, let's say they get nervous for school. And so, it starts to roll in Sunday night, those kind of anxious feelings. And so your child would learn to respond, talk back to anxiety saying, oh, hey, there you are, worry. You usually show up about this time. I'm not surprised. And that's it. They're talking to anxiety. They're recognizing this is just normal for what happens when I start a new school week. Number 2 is to take care of it. There is a piece of us when we are feeling scared about something or worried that we want reassurance. And children are really good about seeking that from their parents. And what I want you and your child to do is to interrupt the pattern of seeking out that reassurance from other people, and for your child to be able to give that to themselves. So what this might look like is your child saying something like, it's okay. I can handle whatever challenges come my way. I can get through this. Really, they're just acknowledging for themselves that it's okay to worry, and they'll be okay. All right, number 3, this one's kind of my favorite. It's to boss it around. I like to do this a lot with kids. Really help them feel good about kind of getting sassy even with their worry. So I will ask them to think about really getting upset with it and really telling it to go away, and have them really practice it out loud. It can be kind of liberating for them. And if it's appropriate for you, even like this being the one instance where they could like use a swear word or something, but it's, really has to be done appropriately. So they might say something like, go away. You're not going to ruin my fun. I'm sick of you interfering with my life. Go away. Something like that. And I like to have them really enact it to really get that out. So those are the 3 ways that they can talk to anxiety. And so that's something that you can really help your child work on. So another piece that goes with this is really helping your child to see that there are 2 parts of them. Like I mentioned before, there's kind of the worry piece, and then there's, the helpful part, right? We've talked about that we need anxiety and we can't get rid of it. But what we need to do is learn how to know the difference between the 2. So, we want to help kids ask the question of, okay, so I'm going to a sleepover and I'm feeling nervous about it. What part of this do I listen to because it's helpful information? And what part of this do I need to ignore because it's really worry talking? Those are really, really important skills for your child to learn, and it can be really helpful to know that, before they even enter those situations, right? Again, sleepover, you already know that about your child, that's a common situation where worry shows up. So you are going to have that conversation with your child before the sleepover. Like, all right, we're going to expect it. Here's how you can talk with it. Which parts are you going to listen to? And which parts are you going to ignore? Which parts are you going to say, get lost? So having that advanced discussion can help the situation a lot. Helps everyone feel less surprised in the moment. Okay, I want to talk about the 2 traps that parents can often fall into. Number 1, reassurance. It can feel really, really tempting in the moment to just answer those questions for your child to help relieve them of those worries. And what you've probably found is that is incredibly exhausting and feels never ending. So I want to help empower you to be able to talk less and get your child to talk more. So what this would look like is if your child is seeking reassurance from you, well, Mom, what if this happens? What if this happens? What if this happens? You get to interrupt that pattern by saying, wow, it sounds like, insert child's worry character name. I'll just call it worry. Sounds like worry is talking right now. What can you say back to it? they're going to struggle with this for a little while. And so, you might just kind of help them go, it's okay, like just try. If you get stuck, I'll help you out. I'll give you some hints and clues. But really try not to give them that answer. Try to really ask them to say something to worry. Okay, so second trap is getting stuck in the content. What this means is that the actual situation that they're worried about is not what you should get sucked into. So for example, if your child is afraid of getting stung by a bee, that is not really what you should be talking about, spending your energy solving with your child. Because even if you solve it in that moment, something else creeps back up, another worry, whether it's, a week later or 10 years later, right? They're then 10 years later afraid to drive a car, and here you are having that same conversation about nothing bad's going to happen and everything will be okay. So you want to stay away from addressing the specifics of the problem and really getting to that underlying pattern of anxiety. And really what it is it's your child listening to anxiety rather than challenging it. So those are a couple of things that you can do, is start to kind of push pause, I would say, on your response, and ask your child to respond to their worry. I'm going to give you a warning that when you do this, you are likely to experience a lot of pushback. Anxiety is incredibly powerful and does not like you changing the rules, but you have committed to stop listening to anxiety's rules. They don't run the ship anymore. So, and you can talk about that with your child too. It's okay. We're not going to follow anxiety's rules anymore. So I'm going to have you talk back to worry today. When it happens, when your child really escalates around this, it's important to really stay calm and consistent. It will be very tempting to just give in, and it's going to be hard for you to change your own patterns too. But just keep with it. It's going to take time. There is nothing you can say in the moment that's just going to magically make everything better. This is all about actions and just staying calm and consistent. That is it. So again, things that you can be doing are start to externalize your own worries in front of your child. Start to model that. So, again, you're like, oh, I noticed that I got nervous about being late for my meeting. And so I told worry, oh, don't you be silly. I'm going to just leave a few minutes in advance. Everything will be okay. Whatever it is. Start to just be saying that out loud, modeling it for your child. And if that's not something you do very well, then this is a really good opportunity to learn these skills yourself. Okay, so lastly, if your child creates a picture of their worry, please visit my Facebook page and put the picture in there. I would absolutely love to see it. My business page is State of Mind Therapy, or you can find me. My username is Jenny Matthews LMFT. So that's another little takeaway for you, is to have your child draw a picture of their anxiety and give it a name, and then go ahead and drop it in my Facebook page. If you have any questions, concerns, feel free to drop them in the comment section below. I thank you again for tuning into this video. I hope it was helpful. Talk to you soon.